Hi Dorcas, welcome.
Thank you, Dr. Ari. It's such a joy and pleasure to be here. I am so delighted. Thank you for having me.
Me too. We are going to have a lot of interesting conversation about your experiences. I know you are at Oxford at the moment. We were just chatting about how you are adapting and all those things. So we'll get to that. But I want us to begin. I was telling you, I've received so many DMs because I think across many constituencies, this is a time when many Rhodes scholars are getting and other scholarships. But you guys will forgive us. We are going to mostly focus on the Rhodes Scholarship because Dorcas is a Rhodes scholar. So I want us to use the first part of this conversation to talk about Rhodes Scholarship interview. So 2 things we will do. You will reflect back to your experiences when you were shortlisted and you were told to prepare for the interview. You take us through how was it? Were you excited? Were you anxious? And all the feelings. And then we will talk about tips and tricks that maybe you used to stand out, and hopefully the guys preparing for those interviews will pick a thing or two. So yeah, let's begin. Walk us through your when were you told? Do you remember when you received the email being shortlisted for the interview?
Yes, I do remember the day, and I think it was on the 9th of October, but I will confirm for sure. I was at Deloitte, one of the offices, just sitting down and working, and I see an email saying you have been invited for, like, you made it to the final selection. So we're inviting you for a pre-selection dinner at Kempinski to just have like an informal chat, as they said, and then you will show up for the interview the following day after. And I think before then I had like 2 weeks to prepare for this pre-selection dinner and even the interview. And so what I did, I was like, why do we have a pre-selection dinner? Like, what the hell is this, So I was surprised. I'm like, people even don't call for people for dinners. I was like, this is definitely a trick. They are trying to make it like an informal, but then there's something here, And I think this is also the first time that I got to meet you. So what happened, I just said, this is an opportunity for me to show up for an interview. I think in most ways, I have gotten to appreciate just being in interviews and being able to speak one-on-one with other people. So I was excited. But then at the back of my mind, I also knew maybe this is another interview where they actually gauge you from there on if you were a Rhodes scholar. So I think I started wondering what will I even wear, because now you're starting to think if it's an interview, then you have to also present yourself. Oh, you need to wear a certain type of way, even though it was on a Friday evening. Oh, this on a Friday evening? No, it wasn't on a Friday. I think it was during the weekday, but then the dinner time was around 6 p.m. all the way to 10 p.m. So, like those evening times, you think it's more like an informal, because they even say there's opportunity to take wine, I don't know, just relax. So you were never sure, but then I think I just went with whatever clothing that I felt comfortable with, and I show up during this day. And I don't know if you want me to speak about like now the actual setup and stuff.
No, wait. More for you know I had forgotten. That is when we met officially, right?
That is when we met officially.
I had forgotten.
So I walk into.
I had forgotten how we met actually. Yeah. So follow-up question. I know this because I think we had a brief conversation after the pre-selection dinner. It was happening at Kempinski, right?
Yeah. Yes, it was happening at Kempinski.
Yes. So I remember you were very. I liked your honesty. I want to say, like I remember you were just like honest about that you are anxious and like I'm really scared about this thing. And I remember sharing how I was scared as well. I remember just, what do you remember from the conversation we had?
Okay, so let me tell the story a bit more. So I walk into this room. There's a number of like, I think 8 other people who are going to be interviewed the next day, and then I hear I hear people coming in. I hear people talking about their achievements, what they've done, and that is where I actually start feeling intimidated. And then I didn't know who's the selector, who's not, but then the people were really friendly. Because the only person I knew there was Dr. Geoffrey, who was that was the first time we were also meeting, but then I knew he was from TUC. But everyone else, very new. I've read a bit of their profile, but I've never met them in person. So they start with a round of like introductions and stuff. They tell us, how do you feel? Me, I'm like, to be honest, I'm very anxious. I'm very nervous. I remember even like, you see the way you are, okay, Kempinski, you sit down and then you eat your food. And then I couldn't even wait for like someone to come and pick my plate because I'm like, maybe it's correct. How I've been taught, you have to take your plate, right? So I was like, maybe these people are even gauging how we use fork and knife. And I was like, I know how to use my fork and knife. I will do it so excellently. But guys, no. To be honest, that is not like a formal interview for real. I have come to prove that, because in so many ways I did not present myself as like to show like, or to be actually like to show my perfect candidacy. No, I did not. So guys, have less pressure on that day. That day is purely like for chilling and stuff. So back to your question. So after the interactions and stuff, I remember it was even going beyond the 10 p.m. that they had predicted. Like they had said the time for us to leave the place was like 10 p.m. And then we had like an initial conversation with you, and I found you very approachable, easy to approach. So I was like, guys started leaving, and I was like, Daktari, like I just walked up to you and I was like, I really don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. I think I don't know. You gave me that safe space. I was able to tell you, okay, I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. I don't know if what are these people looking for, and how can I just even impress or like be able to show these people that I'm actually capable and I can be a Rhodes Scholar. And then you told me one very interesting thing that stuck with me. You told me, Dorcas, you're here because people believe in you, and what you have to do tonight, and even tonight up until tomorrow, there's nothing that will change who you are. So what you need to do, don't even go prepare, just show up, present yourself as your honest self. Like, don't go reading your CVs and stuff again. And I took that advice. Who's me, Dorcas? I just went. Like, I felt so happy after that interview, after that conversation with you. I went and slept. I woke up tomorrow, like the next day. I called my parents and I was like, so today I'm going for the interview. Please pray for me. And I did not even look at my CVs. Do what? No. So, that is what I actually went with. That is what I went with for the interview. Yeah.
Okay. I'd forgotten. Yes, I'd forgotten most of the conversation, but I remember. I think we sat there for another 10 minutes or so. And anyway, just to say, you were also approachable, and you were. I like the way you were open and honest about the feelings. You didn't even care if I was not the interview. I was not on the interviewing panel, but I just liked the fact that you were honest about your feelings, that you were scared and all that. Yes, and the authenticity thing, being yourself is. And every time I talk to someone who is preparing for this interview, and I suppose any other interview, is to be authentic self. Present your authentic self. Yeah. So, if you were to go back, I know you already mentioned that you would try and enjoy the dinner, maybe even go for more food or more wine if you were to redo it. What else will you what else will you change if you were called back again, or if you were this year's Rhodes Scholar who is preparing for the pre-selection dinner?
Well, to be honest, I think I would be more confident in myself, because up until then, I was doubting my ability, just because I got into this space where everyone else was actually someone who could be selected as one of the Rhodes Scholars. So it was quite a moment where you're like, to be honest, there's no really big difference between me and this other person, and what, like, there's no other reason apart from just I don't know what could distinguish between all of us, and it was like a period where you start doubting yourself, and you're like, I think you're the one these people are looking for. So I'll be more confident. I'll be more also calm and be open to conversation, because I was a bit just tied up with even the responses that I was giving these people, because I felt like maybe they might judge me, and then tomorrow I show up again, and so I feel like they would know so much, and maybe some of these things that they would know so much would not uh, relate to what they're looking for. But to be honest, it's one of the first places where you get to interact with them and be open. And they pick so much from there. I think so. I think they do. Because some of the discussions we had, even like with the people, the people who were interviewing me the next day, it was more like a follow up, and like a follow up with from where we left off. So they were like, oh, so yesterday, blah 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 blah, and you're like, so, and imagine like this is a very informal chat, so stories just come out, and regardless of if you go there with this fixed mind, tomorrow, the next day, whatever conversations you had really has to be like, it has to make sense. You can't start talking about this today and then tomorrow you talk about different things. Back to your suggestion on like authenticity, just be yourself. So yeah, I would, to be honest, I'll just change the confidence bit, but there's nothing else I would change, because I think I was myself and the stories were time. Yeah.
Okay, excellent. And another thing that I remember from, I don't know if we talked about this, but from my time, I was not only intimidated by the panelists. I mean, the panelists, I kind of expected them to be exceptional, and they were, and that did not surprise me. But I was intimidated by my shortlisted candidate. We were 5 during my time. How many were you? And so you will speak about that. How many were you? And did you feel intimidated by the? Because there are these guys who are very confident. I remember during my time, and like I was struggling to converse in English. Being honest, if it was done in Kikale, and I think that is another discussion we want with a friend, right? That language can be a barrier sometimes. You might have these amazing fiery ideas, but the language is a barrier. And I remember I was just struggling to converse like fluently and nicely in English, and also because of that anxiety and whatever. And so I feel like I was also a bit reserved and whatever. But then like I could just see, like I was just watching my colleagues, the guys we were shortlisted with. These guys were the body language and the confidence. I know they were shaking inside, but like I could just say, maybe they would say the same about me. I don't know. But what do you think? What did you take away, or rather, with your colleagues? Were they intimidating? Were you already scanning the room and you're like, that one in that corner and this one might be the ones who will take this thing?
So yeah, number one, we were like 8 candidates who showed up for the interview, and for sure, this is when I realized, like being in the room and seeing the other candidates, this is when I realized that Rhodes Scholarship is not a needs-based scholarship, because some of the people who were in there were like people who had done their undergrads outside of Kenya. So of course I felt intimidated. I'm like, you're coming from the UK and you're coming to also interview for Rhodes Scholarship. I mean, you have better English, as you mentioned. I also was like, you know how to engage and converse with this the panelists, the interviewers, the selection committee. And I was like, you may even have favors, because you're like, you know how to engage and stuff. So I felt I felt intimidated, kind of, and I was like, so this is clearly, I had already ticked myself out of the box. I'm like, this one, I can't make it for this one. This person who knows themselves better, who knows how to speak with confidence, and they know their stuff. They gathered everything. They even know the winter, summer. They know all the seasons. And me, I just know. They ask me also, what are you planning to do over summer? Me, I'm like, I don't know what summer and winter seasons are. So, so yeah, it was definitely intimidating, but also very challenging in the sense that you meet these people and you hear their story, and you know that these people actually kind of work around the same areas, and they are there for the main goal of making some changes in the society. So in as much as I was intimidated, remember, I was not going there to say, okay, I'm going to get this thing. It was also a learning opportunity. I wanted to meet people. I wanted to get to know how to converse and how to engage with people. I wanted to just meet these people and know what they're doing. And some of them are doing incredible things. So with that, in that regard, in as much as I was intimidated, I was also challenged. I'm like, oh, so you were doing, because there's someone who was even like a journalist doing so many things. And I'm like, wow, you're really doing incredible things. And in that sense, challenges me to also think, what am I doing really for myself, for others, and for the society? So I think it's good. It was really a good experience. Yeah. And of course, you can't have just like a single experience. There's always this side and this side, and both of them bring out the best. Like there's a positivity at the end.
Yeah. Did you guys keep in touch? Do you have did you get a WhatsApp group with the other candidates?
We did not get a WhatsApp group, but I have all their numbers. So I took everyone's numbers, and one of them even came to Oxford, like through another scholarship. So that's to tell you that this clearly there was nothing that could make the other person not get. It's only that maybe they wanted to, but everyone in that place was able and very capable of getting the Rhodes Scholarship. So we kept on engaging after, and I still speak to them. The only person I didn't take their number was Mwangi, who apparently was also selected. And I was like, why didn't I take Mwangi's number? Because only after we got the scholarship is when we reached out by email. But the rest of the guys, I think I have their numbers. We didn't form a WhatsApp group, but we keep engaging once in a while.
No, that is nice, and that is also like really good network to have. And I think it's also an encouragement for the guys who are preparing to go into the interview. Really, there is nothing to lose. I mean, it might be sad to miss out if you miss out, but from what you're saying, Dorcas, your other friend made it to Oxford, so meaning you can still get another scholarship. So hopefully it will be an encouragement to the guys in case you miss out. But anyway, now let's move on to the real interview. And was that the following day?
Yes. So the interview was the following day. I remember this day so vividly. I remember it because it was one of my best days. And when I say best days, it's just not because I have gotten the scholarship now. No, it's because of how I felt. So I woke up, my interview was at 11 a.m. So I woke up and I was the third person being interviewed. So I prepare myself. I asked for the blessings of my friends, my parents, so prayers, and I also prayed. And then, of course, I didn't really look at the CVs and stuff, because I had this thing. I already know what I want, and I know what I wrote in my personal statement. So it was not, I was comfortable with what I wrote, and I was comfortable with myself. So I woke up to the interview room just after the second person, who was also Mwangi. And when I got in there, I felt empowered. And like that was the first feeling I felt, because I walk in and I'm like, wow, these people are just, all of them are sitting there. There were like nine people. The selection committee, they were made up of 9 people. These people are all sitting down, and they have allocated a special seat for me. right there at the front. I felt empowered because in that regard, you feel like you are, I don't know, sorry, the CEO, because you sit there and then everyone, it's also like the panel is like in a oval or circle, like this. So you are seated somewhere here, and I was like, wow. So the feeling of being empowered gave me so much confidence. I even had a glass of water just right next to me, and I don't know where I got the confidence from. I don't know where I got the empowerment from it, but I just felt so comfortable. And I sat there and I was like, guys, let's have a conversation. So I was happy to be there. The selection committee, they were very gracious, very, very gracious to, first of all, enable me to calm down. In as much as I was feeling empowered, of course, there's some nervousness that comes to it. You're like, these people have you looked at their CVs? These people are no joke. These people have already gone to Oxford. People are doing incredible things out here. So whatever you say, it's not like you are just, in as much as you think you are seated on this seat that empowers you, you also have to be humble, kind of. So I felt a bit nervous, but they tried to calm me down. They asked very calming questions like, how are you? Are you feeling? Take some water. I don't know. They even made some jokes, and they made the environment very easy to just make you come and be yourself. So that was the first feeling that I felt, and that was my first impression of the selection committee. So they went on to ask, like they did not ask me to introduce myself, but one of the first questions they asked me was like, why do you want this scholarship? What does it mean to you? Where do you see yourself in like 10 years? And this question, it was coming from one person. And I remember trying to jot down, because also you have to be present and also get to know what exactly they're trying to ask. Because interview, I think I have gotten to say that interview is just a matter of hearing and hearing so well and hearing what they're trying to ask, and then going ahead to give responses that are structured kind of based on the questions that they've asked. So I had like 3 questions from just one person, and now you're trying to break them down and start to explain. So it's very good that if you know yourself very well, and if you know what you want to do and where you want to go, these questions are not surprise. You just have to like properly structure it to come out in a manner that is easy to understand, like the selection committee to easily understand, and to also give a clarity in your responses really matter. You don't have to be bluffing left, right, and center. But even if you do, take a moment, sip the water, and even make a joke about it. Say, guys, I'm so tense, because they asked me a question that I honestly didn't have an answer instantly. So I was like, that's a very difficult question, and it's a very tricky question. But then I also tried to just and make them know that, okay, I don't know this answer so well, but I can try. I can give it a try, and we can reason together. And you engage them also. You make them. If you see the interviewer was not nodding, not doing anything, just like this, then you know you're a very boring person. So don't go there being one of the boring people. People don't want boring persons in the interview. So yeah, I'm also happy to like speak about me singing in the interview room, which was very lovely. Yeah.
Yes. I think you've touched. Mm-hmm. Sorry, did you say meeting with other candidates?
Yes, meeting with other candidates. Like during that day.
Did you guys meet? You met before you went in. Were they coming in at different times, or you arrived at the same time?
Everyone had an allocated time, so everyone was coming in at different times. And the interview lasted like 45 minutes for each person. And like I felt like that was so long. But then when I went inside, I was like, you guys, I was enjoying the conversation. We could have even made it 1 hour or more, because you think you don't have much to say, but apparently there's a lot to say, especially when you're comfortable. There's a lot to say, there's a lot to talk about, there's a lot to joke about, there's a lot to laugh. Like, there's just so much, because interviewers are also humans and they just want to have a chat. So
yeah. Okay, I was just reflecting back to, I wanted to also add my own I don't know, like just my own ideas when I reflected back to my time, and some things that I think helped me, and some things that I've learned along the way that I think they've been helping me during interviews. So I wanted to share, and I'm happy you mentioned about the structure. Now this is something that I learned really recently, I think 2 years, okay, maybe 3 years after my PhD for sure. So this is what I learned, that interviews, during the interview, it's not about the IQ, it's about EQ, 100%. And so for the guys who are preparing for the interview, I want you to always think that it's a lot about emotional intelligence more than IQ. Like it is people, these 9 panelists, or whatever number they are looking at you and they are trying to find out who you are in just like 45 minutes, which is sometimes unfair. But then, like you have to, you always have to think, you have to be very strong with your emotional intelligence. Like you mentioned, Dorcas, you have to keep scanning the room. Are they giving you like, are they giving you some cues that you are overstretching your answers, or that they want you to, they might not say loudly, but you can tell from their faces. Are they dozing off? If they are sleeping, yes. I don't know if you'll have to stand and do something to wake them up. But yeah, so this is what I was thinking, and I did another video actually explaining some of the interview tips that I've learned. So I for the guys who are preparing, I normally like to split into like 3 categories: the pre-interview things you can consider doing, and then during the interview things, and then post-interview. And I will actually ask you if you did any post-interview. People write email, thank you email. You will tell me about that. But during pre-interview, immediately you've been told you've been shortlisted. Personally, I would recommend that this is the time to read the CV, reread your CV. Don't leave it until like the night before. Start reading now. Reread your CV. Reread your statement of purpose, personal statement, whatever materials you submitted. Reread them, because you might have forgotten some of the things there. And the reason why you need to reread, I remember, and I don't know if that was your experience as well, Dorcas. So one of the panelists, because literally they are using those materials to get questions to ask you most of the time, apart from the general questions, who are you and whatever. So I remember in my personal statement, I don't remember what it was exactly, but somewhere in the body of my personal statement, I had written something, I don't know about, the way I see the world or whatever. Just, those things we write. You know what we write in the personal statement, like the big things, and how you see the world in the next 10 years. And so the panelists read that phrase, or was it a sentence, and told me, expound more. And I was happy that I wrote the statement myself, because then I could actually explain what I meant. Yes, so it will be really, I think it will be a bad picture if you can't remember that there are some sentences or phrases that you wrote. So reread. That is the pre-interview tip that I would give. Another thing is maybe talking to past scholars about their experiences. With the caveat that we said, whatever you do, remember to be authentic. Like, chat with people just to hear their experiences, but do not try to photocopy. Even the things we are giving right now, if some of these things do not feel natural by the time you're going into the interview, you obviously have some time to start practicing now. But if by the time you are getting into the interview room, if they don't feel natural, drop them. Just be you, whatever you've been using, wherever you are. Just bring your real self there. Because you can imagine if I was on the panel, if you were on the panel, always think, again, this is emotional intelligence, right? Put yourself in their shoes. If you were the one judging someone, how would you judge that person? Who is looking to be faking it? Like, you can tell this person is faking it. I mean, they might mean good. They might mean good. They learned these things on YouTube and they want to use those things. But then you can clearly see that this candidate is faking something. No one wants someone faking something. So practice some of these things to feel natural. But I think most important thing is to be natural and authentic on the day. Now, during the interview, these are some of the things that I feel like they've really helped me. I don't think I actually talked about this with you. I think I was chatting with another candidate sometimes back, and I just kept telling them the whole lessons of the interview is to always have emotional intelligence on that day, and the main work. The main, like, what is the essence of the interview? Like, what you want to do, whatever you do. And I remember you mentioned something. Is it you who cracked a joke? Who high-fived everyone? Did you crack a joke?
No, me. I asked them to stand up and we sang together during the interview. So that was like,
what?
Yeah.
Yes, I remember someone saying something like, wow, this one is audacious. So I think someone else, there is another candidate who said they went in, and instead of looking anxious and just hurrying to sit down in the chair, literally went around high-fiving everyone. And of course, as a panelist, I'll be like, wow. Who is this? So anyway, I wanted to say during the interview, for me, whatever you do, whatever you say, however you behave, the main thing is to imprint your story and imprint your name on their minds. That is the whole lessons. Because at the end of the interview, at the end of 45 minutes or at the end of that day, they will go on a recess and they'll be like, who was that candidate? Who said this? And so you want your name to be like on top of their minds. If they can't remember your name, well and good, but your story, they'll be like, the candidate who talked about this thing so passionately. They also have a paper where they are putting down marks and whatever. So you want your story to be remembered. And once you realize that the whole lessons of an interview is to imprint your name and your story on top of their minds, you can do what Dorcas was doing, asking, wait, Dorcas, how did you start the conversation of, can you stand up and let's sing?
So how that happened, Rhodes Scholarship, they look for more than just the academic excellence. And the other things that you do in life, either extracurricular and things like sports and stuff. I was big on choir. I was a choir coordinator, choir member in my university. And so they mentioned something about, so you as a coordinator, what exactly were you doing? So as part of my explaining what I was doing, and the things I was doing as a coordinator, aside from like the documentation part of like planning for events and stuff, organizing things, I was also doing the actual coordination of like doing this. So I was like, let me give you guys a taster. Let's just spice up the room. Let's stand up and I show you like in real life how things, how I was exactly doing the choir coordination. And so that's how it happened. And use whatever you have to.
I love it. And I think also that hands down, that shows a lot of confidence. Like and also vulnerability, because they would have said no, we are not going to participate in your choir. And I love it. I really love it. And I think if you ask me, I know of course you are exceptional and your research is exceptional, but also remember all those shortlisted candidates, they're also exceptional. And so you are fighting to live, to imprint your story and your name. And a mark. So these are some of the things that I do. Let me start with the structure. You had mentioned about structuring your answers, because if you just say a random story which is not interesting, no one will remember. And so you want to structure your story. I even tell even right nowadays when I go into an interview, the boring question, tell us who you are. Who are you? You know that the first question about tell us about yourself. That question is like boring and you can find it everywhere. But nowadays I structure it. I go in and I say, for you guys to understand who Gladys is, I'll tell you the academic and career Gladys, and I'll tell you non-academic Gladys. So let's start with the academic Gladys. Currently, I'm working in this position as whatever. So far, I have achieved this and this. Before here, I graduated top of my class, a class of 500 students. My highlights there was when I was selected this and this and this, and I made this and this difference there. Then that gives you a rough picture of who Gladys is academically. Now, the most interesting part is non-academic Gladys. I'm passionate about three things. Now, that is structuring again, and we'll talk about, they call it 1, 2, 3 method. So you are like outside academics and career. I'm passionate about three things. Most of the time, when you're saying those three, like I'm passionate about three things, you've not even made up your mind what you will say, but like you'll just make up things as you go, and that will force you to stop at number 3. Otherwise, if you don't, because of anxiety, you will find yourself explaining who you are for 10 minutes, and then the interviewers will be like, you know what, Gladys, Dorcas, just pause there. We've gotten enough about you. You don't want that. So you want to be reasonable and say yes. Outside academics, I'm passionate about three things. The first one is football. I like football because that is where I learn teamwork. Number 2 is that I like volunteering. Blah blah blah. Number 3, whatever. So anyway, you guys get the point. So I'm so passionate about structuring. I think that's. Maybe I'm also passionate, and it feels so natural to me because maybe I'm from the STEM engineering background, and I'm used to numbers and structuring things. But I really like that because then they will remember that Gladys has the academic and non-academic self. Someone else. Anyway, I'll put up another video where I explained about some examples. People said you can also do chronological order of things. You can also say, to understand who Gladys is, I'll tell you the Gladys of now, the Gladys before and after. You don't have to really say like that, but you can just say like, currently I'm doing this and this and this. Before here, I was there in that school and whatever. And looking into the future, I'm now seeking this scholarship to allow me to go to Oxford to study this course so that I can come and change the world. Hallelujah. So anyway, so that is
I just wanted to say also, like, you see, when you're talking about who you are, and when they ask you that question, like, tell us about yourself, kind of you're trying and summarize everything in your personal statement with a very short summary that is very interesting and capturing, like, very much. One thing I can just remember, because they have already read this personal statement, but then how can you summarize it in a manner that they get to know everything about you, but it has to come out very interesting and not long. That's why structure is important, as you're saying. So have like points, say 1, 2, 3, and don't overstate it. Yes, and also leave room for like people to ponder on like what you said. I don't know, like in as much as you're introduced point where people would be curious to know more about this other part that you just mentioned, like even have follow-up questions for you. So mention interesting things that would make someone to go back to your question and say, oh, okay, you mentioned that you like football and stuff, so mention interesting things about yourself.
100%. And also, Dorcas, to add, one thing I forgot is that they don't want to hear a random story about you. I mean, since you were born, there are so many things you've done. So remember, this is a 2-minute succinct answer you want to give. You can tell us all the things you've done in your life. So always remember also what they are looking for. So like for the Rhodes, they are passionate about leadership, extracurricular, and they want to hear like excellent grades. And so that's why when I was even like structuring about the academic Gladys, you make sure you mention like top of my class, top of this, because they want like excellence, right? And then if for instance, if I was talking about non-academic self and I'm talking about these things that I'm passionate outside class, don't mention random hobbies. I mean, personally, I would say fetch those things that are interesting to them. Remember, they are sitting there on behalf of the Rhodes Trust, just checking the list. Whether does this person have some leadership skills, some interesting excellence, extracurricular excellence, and whatever. So make sure you highlight those things that they're looking for. Another example, the one I got after my PhD, Schmidt Science Fellowship, they were big on interdisciplinary. And so in as much as I was structuring my answer, like, my academic self, but then the examples that I give, I'll make sure that I highlight that during my PhD, I did a very, very interesting interdisciplinary project. So you make sure you mention those things as you tell about yourself. They don't want to hear a random story. They want to hear interesting story, but then they are also trying to pick out some interesting points that rhymes and fits the eligibility criteria they are looking for. So that is about another thing. So that is number one, the structure. Number two, I'm referring to my notes here. Number two, I'm so passionate about this, and this is the storyfying. I call it storify and personify your answers. Again, the stories, you have to be interesting, and so you have to learn how to tell stories. And I was telling, so instead of saying, when I was growing up, my grandma used to take me to school, blah blah blah, it would help to sprinkle wherever necessary real names. So my grandma Jane would take me to school, a local primary school, and you name the name of the school. So giving names. The way to personify is to give names, to give percentages, to give numbers, and etc. etc. So look for ways to personify. Number three is to quantify as much as possible. Like you had me mentioning if I was to tell about tell us about yourself, Gladys, I'll tell you about the academic Gladys. I graduated from, and then you named the university. I graduated from Jomo Kenyatta University, top of my class, a class of 500 students. Because top 1% of my class, a class of 500 students. I'm just giving a random example. Because again, top 1% of 10 students and top 1% of 1,000 students, those are different pictures, and so you want to paint a clear picture. Yes, as you tell your stories, use percentages, use numbers, as much as possible, wherever possible. Don't force issues. Another thing is a book and a pen. This is what I tell people to do. Carry a book and a pen. They might give you a paper there, but it's just carry your own book and a pen. So the reason why I like to do this is because this will do two things. And I think you had mentioned something about multi-layered questions. So if the interviewer is asking you, Dorcas, tell us about a moment when A happened, and then number two, what did you do about it? Number three, what did you learn from it? Those are like three questions. And if you're not very careful, if you've not captured mentally, and I don't trust my mind at that point, because adrenaline is on another level, and so you will just answer A, you will forget B and C. Most of the time, they will not remind you to do B and C, because maybe you've even exhausted the time. And so a book and a pen will allow you to quickly, you don't have to write the entire sentence. You know how to do like it's called shorthand. You know how to capture shorthand. Yes, notes. So you can just write 3A quick thing that will remind you. So you just keep glancing at your book, and you realize you've answered number A. Once you've done number A, you can also refer to your book, and you said there is another question you asked me, and then you check in your book, and then you read out from your book. If you ask me, that communicates remember, this is a scholar, like they're recruiting scholars to study at the University of Oxford. And I think that is already communicating a clear picture that this person is diligent and thorough. So I would say have a book and a pen. Number two, if you have a book and a pen, and I really like this one I found it almost by mistake, and now I'm really obsessed about it. It will help you control the pace of the interview, especially when they ask you a question that is a bit tricky and you don't want to quickly jump on it, because there is a temptation immediately they are done asking a question, you jump answering, and then you feel like you're out of breath and it's going too fast. So if you have a book and a pen, you can pretend. I mean, you could be writing something, but you can also just pretend to buy yourself a second. Of course, don't overstretch. Remember, emotional intelligence here, it's very difficult to explain everything, but yes, you get the point. If you have a book and a pen and they're asking a question, you could pretend to be writing the last part of your thing as you quickly structure your answer, so that when you open your mouth, you already know the direction you want to take, kind of thing. The last thing, and then
Yeah.
I will give it back to you, Dorcas, to like chime in on these things. Two last things. The second last is if you know their names already. I think they normally have their names. If you know their names already, I would say again, this is emotional intelligence, and it's a way to imprint your name in their minds. As you know, they say we human beings, we like ourselves so much. We like when you call me by my name, like, hi Gladys, and you keep referring to me as Gladys. Gladys, you mentioned this and this. So normally I say refer to their names and their titles if necessary. Don't overdo it, of course, but once in a while you would say, hey, Dr. Dorcas, you asked this interesting question earlier on, and you can remember those earlier questions because guess what? You have you've written like shorthand things on your book, and you can keep referring back and forth. So it's about emotional intelligence, and so if it makes sense, refer to their names as much as possible. Do not overdo it. And it should seem natural. So start practicing now. Kwa mirror, just keep saying, Dr. Kamau, you ask this question until it's natural. It has to be natural. If it's not natural by the time you're going to the interview, drop it. Just do what you've been doing. The last one is ask thoughtful questions. And I think, again, we are trying to imprint our name and our stories in their minds. And so when you ask a thoughtful question, a question that will make someone pause and be like, so the questions that I normally like to ask, I like to ask personal questions, not like personal, like who did you vote for? Don't try those. Don't try the political and the religious questions, but like personal in the sense that I would say something like, and also like a question that I genuinely want to hear a reply, not just like random question you got from the internet and you want to impress them. Ask a genuine question you actually the answer they give will actually benefit you. So for instance, I would the last interview I went, they'd given us the list of the interviewers, and there was one that had a very interesting career trajectory, and I admired. It was like an orthodox career trajectory, and I really liked that, because I think personally I've been rethinking how career is like, right? So I was like, 30 years ago, when you graduated out of PhD from this university as I think it was a mechanical engineer actually, and so that was also they say establish an area of commonality, because I was also engineering, so I said, I also did mechanical engineering, but so 30 years ago you graduated degree in mechanical engineering, but then you shifted careers, you went to this industry afterwards, and now you are really successful, and you look like you are enjoying where you are. If you were to go back, was that by accident, by design? Is there any advice you would give me as someone who admires your career trajectory? And the person had to like think, and you so impressed that I had done like that little bio, and really seriously I wanted to hear why they changed careers, like different industries and whatever. So I would say look for a thoughtful, personal question to ask at the end, like something that will actually make the interviewer to stop and think, like for a brief moment before they answer you. Not the question of when will I know the results? They'll just tell you tomorrow and they forget about it. But like if you ask this thoughtful question, they will pause and they will actually want to give you a very good advice. So let me end there. Those are my top tips for anyone going into the interview. Bottom line is that on that day, forget about your IQ. On that day is emotional intelligence. Whatever you do, whatever you say, how you behave, you make sure you are reading the room, and you make sure that the main thing at the end of that period is to imprint your name and your story in their minds. Back to you, Dorcas, from this point or anything else that came in your mind while I was speaking.
I as part of like the interview prep also, like while you're at the interview, and I like how you said reading the room. One thing that I also had like in mind was to reiterate the questions. Sometimes it's helpful when you are, because you are seated at the front, it's also helpful when you're thinking about the questions. Maybe reiterate the questions to just make you think, and also know that you got the right question. And then don't be afraid to ask, sorry, do you mind repeating? Or say, give me a moment to think about it. But then don't say give me a moment and then you take so long again. Just it's a skill. It's an emotional skill, as you said. Something you just learn to manage yourself and process the question in a manner that is not taking too long, but you're also giving yourself the time to think about these things. Or you answer one thing and then you say, let me come back to this now. Be very flexible and just be open, because they see you and they see how you're presenting yourself even outwardly. And then something again was like, for example, when someone asks you a question and you try and look at them when you're hearing the question, and try and start by looking at them first as you span across the room, as you look at everyone across the room while you're trying to get back to them again, because they're the one who asked you the question. And be always ready to even say thank you for asking that question, because when you say thank you for asking that question, it gives you also time to process. So don't be so quick on like just answering and not taking time to process the question and look at the person and then look at the room, look at everyone and see how they're nodding. And then I liked one thing also, try and paint a picture. For example, it will get to a point where they will ask you some technical questions. Some of them might understand, some of them might not, and some of them are also curious to know what exactly do you want to do and what are you trying to say even in all this. So it's helpful to try and broaden out and paint a picture as to how you want to do this research or why you want to do this thing. And part of these things is actually by being present, taking something that can be of help. And I think you just have to be very innovative about how you go about in interviews. Even I remember I had a picture of the boxes that I wanted, so I was telling them this is one box, this is another box, this is another box. How I want to do my research is that the process involves process coming in, something going out, and then there's a middle box here. So simplify and break down things and give them a picture, because they're also trying to understand what your research really entails. They want to get confidence that you know what you're doing, because there's also the technical bit. And the technical bit, try and paint a picture. The other things, extracurricular, also try paint a picture. And for me, that's how it came out to be like, okay, let's stand up and sing, because you want to show them that you can actually do these things, and you have the academic thorough to also know whatever your area of research is and whatever you want to do, and to be confident in for them to be confident in you and what you're trying to say. And yeah, and then something else, and lastly, I think it's very important to give a word of appreciation afterwards. Of course, everyone says it, but then, guys, it has to be very genuine. It has to be very, I don't know, just have a way of embodying and also making yourself someone who appears even thankful. Because there's some people who just like, even if the interview went, I don't know, you feel like you were harassed or you feel like you were panicking the whole time, find ways to even smile even at the end and thank them and even say thank you, and even, I don't know, just make something. Because when I left the interview, guys were laughing, and I was like, oh, okay, so I actually made them laugh. So leave the room also with an impression. Don't just leave and say, oh, thank you, certificate, and just go away. No, guys, you never know. So do something, and yeah, embody those Rhodes Scholarship values that they're actually looking for. Kindliness, sympathy, empathy. Let it be visible outwardly, even in your interactions with them. Yeah.
No, wait, no, I love those, really love those. And I remember that I forgot to even touch on the research aspect. And I'm happy you mentioned that, because it's also really important because we are always like buried in our own research, and we forget, and we're used to this jargon, and so I really like that aspect of trying to simplify, because I know the research aspect will come in, or like what do you want to study kind of thing will come in, and it's good to break it down so that they understand. So thank you for commenting on that. Tell me, did you write a thank you email? I'm just trying to check if I did. I feel like I did. Did you?
So this is it.
Yes.
After the interview, of course, they called me that same evening to say that I had gotten the interview. And then
You guys got the results on the same day?
we got the results on the same day. I remember it was 7 p.m. So it's So after getting the call is when now tomorrow things really escalated. Now the secretary, Dr. Geoffrey, now emailed us together with Dr. Grace, and then they were like, now you've gotten the scholarship. So that's when I used the opportunity to say thank you to them. And I also had like some personal numbers for some of the panelists, so I was just like, okay, thank you, this was really lovely, it was nice to be interviewed by you, and to also get feedback even afterwards. I think I'm one person who loves feedback generally, and just to know how did I do, what kind of things should I improve on going forward, and things like those, even informally, just like getting to hear how the interview went. It's very important. So I think it's good to write a thank you note regardless of the outcome. It's very, very important. Because
I was trying to check. I don't know, I can't remember. It's been ages. But I don't know if I also don't know if really, because I think some people write it like hoping, they write it hoping that it will affect the result. I really don't think it really will affect the results, but I think it will just establish some kind of rapport, whatever way
network.
The result will be. Network. Because then, if assuming worst case scenario, unfortunately, if you don't get it, and hopefully when you write the thank you, whatever they reply, then you can start from there. So assuming things didn't go well and you didn't get the interview, then you can just go back to them and say, any chance you know any other scholarship like this that I can try, blah blah blah. Yes. So I think I think if you can, it would be nice. I don't know. I'm just trying to check. I don't think if I did.
You also get feedback, because when you reach out to them saying thank you, you also get feedback. They tell you what you need to do, or like they can't be generous enough to tell you these are the tips you need to go going forward. And like also one thing, like you get a certificate once you attend the interview. So, and that certificate, it says you're a Rhodes finalist. That's a big thing. It is a big thing. So you just like, honestly, you don't, even if you don't have any reason to thank them for, if you are if you're a modest person, clearly there's so much to be thankful for any experience that you get. So yeah, definitely, please do, regardless of the outcome.
Anything else? If you were this year's Rhodes Scholar Rhodes Scholar elect, and you are preparing to go into the interview, anything else you would do differently?
Anything else I would do differently? That's a difficult question, but I think in most ways, I would I would have the inner belief. I would have the inner belief for sure, because sometimes we know that we have what it takes, but we just don't trust ourselves. But I would go with what I think I believe inside of me, and I'll be very open to whatever the outcome comes. So I think I would not tie myself to, oh, it's a do or die. I would show up and actually be there, be very present, and engage in whatever you get yourself into, and think big even during the interview. Then get the feedback. Like, just look at what is more than just like what meets the eye. So go deeper, and I don't know, be reflective of any single experience that you have. I think for me that would have been helpful to know that, okay, there's this, and then there's also another layer that I might not be seeing it now, and it would be helpful if maybe I share it with someone, or if someone tells me this. So yeah, I think I would be more open towards anything that I see.
So Thank you for that. And now I'm curious. I don't know if I know so much about. I know there are a lot of similarities across all the constituencies, but whatever all the experiences we've shared and the interview structure, pre-selection dinner, and all those things, they apply directly to the Kenyan setup and maybe East African. Any chance you know how the landscape is like for the other constituencies? If you've chatted with other scholars.
Yes, I think I have chatted with a range of scholars from South Africa, India, even the US, and most of them, they have kind of a similar experience where there's this meetup where all of you come together, you get to know each other, you are in a similar environment sort of with the people who are going to be doing the interview the next day, and you are kind of just made aware of what the scholarship is all about. Also during that time, you're made comfortable, you start having the networks and the conversations. The only difference I think from other constituencies is maybe how announcement comes up. For example, in Kenya specifically, you will be called when you are at your homes, but in other constituencies they tell you then like they call all of you guys, and then you see the way, for example, in high school where they say, like they announce your marks. So it's very different in like how maybe they announce the results, but the similarity is very like how they do the selection and the pre-selection dinner is very common. Some people are taken outside, maybe to other, I don't know, they've flown out to other bon voyage somewhere else, but the goal is the same, to just have people together and to get to know each other. Yeah. It's very important. People maintain relationships from then.
Yeah, sure. Anything else interview related we forgot to mention? Because I want us to wrap up this interview side of the story. Then we now talk about your personal experiences. So you got the call and then the process afterwards. But yeah, anything else interview related we forgot to mention? And also maybe a word of advice for because again, we don't like to talk about it, but some of the people will get it, some of the people will not get it. So like, what would you like to advise? Like, assuming worst case scenario, you don't get this thing. Yes, I know there are other scholarships and all that, but yeah, what would you say? What would you say to the guys in case things don't go well as planned?
So yeah, in case things don't go out as planned, and I think this is it happens to us, whether in form of like the scholarship or another job or something else. It can come in so many ways where you don't get what you wanted, especially if you put in the effort, and it can be very painful. And you will go through the phase of like, you're doubting yourself, I was not good enough and stuff, and all those kind of you look at yourself and you start questioning. But what I would say is that up until when you get the scholarship, when you get to be invited for the interview, like you are clearly there's nothing that could deter you from being the next Rhodes Scholar. There's completely nothing, and that's just to show that you are very good. Your capabilities and your abilities are thick. So what you just need to do is try and piece yourself together. I know it's hard, but picking up yourself and moving forward, getting the certificates that you have, or the learnings, the experiences, the network that you have, use them now to your advantage. You use it to say, this is a stepping stone for my next kind of scholarship. This is the person I met for my next for the next round of scholarship. And it's no coincidence that you went in and maybe you didn't get the scholarship. So also just don't go there for the interview and come out and forget about it. Go there with an intention. Meet that one person that you had always wanted to meet. I don't know, you might get your destiny helper, as they say there. So don't just like think it all went bad. Reflect afterwards. Think, who could be of help now going forward? What have I learned? What can I change? Because it's always an opportunity to improve yourself and change, regardless of whether it's a rejection from the scholarship, employer, so many things. Failures in life happens, but how we handle these things called failures is what makes us or breaks us. And you never know, maybe you're that person who we're waiting to hear your story of how you went on from this to this to this to this. So it's a matter of resilience, really. In short, resilience is key, and having that fortitude that regardless of what happens, I will still push forward. And I think it's a skill we all need in life. And
100%. And I also hope for those guys, assuming things don't go very well, we're obviously praying for you for things to go well. But if you don't get the scholarship, the Rhodes Scholarship, the scholarship we're talking about today, you definitely qualify. Like if you are shortlisted for the Rhodes Scholarship, you definitely qualify to get like so many other scholarships. So just make sure, give it a try. It should not be the end, because you can definitely get another scholarship or reapply. Because I know people will also reapply for the following year.
Yes, that's true.
Yes.
Yep.
So, Dorcas, shall we wrap up this interview part of things, and then we talk about now your personal experiences after?
Yes, we can. Unless you have maybe personal questions where maybe people ask specific questions about the interview. Otherwise, always happy to answer other questions here or elsewhere. So
what I will do, because I think generally the DMs that I've gotten, people want to just they say they have questions and they want to hear your personal experience going through it. And I think we've shared, or rather, yes, at least we've talked about like how we experienced the interview. So in case they have further questions, maybe I can arrange a live stream so that people ask live questions, or also we'll share your LinkedIn page, LinkedIn connection, so they can chat with you there in case people watching or interested to hear more. If they have more questions, they can reach out.
Sure. Happy to do that. Yeah.
Sure. So let's wrap this interview thing. Then we move on to the next one.
All right.